Sometimes people ask me about weed being legal in California. And the word they usually use is this word marijuana. And I have really mixed feelings about this, but sometimes I say, because I'm trying to tease to a larger point, really, I didn't know that weed was legal in California. Really? Marijuana is legal in California? To use an analogy, what if all the wood that we used for building houses with was illegal? And the only wood that was allowed on the market was wood that you could put in your chimney to burn. That's like it is with cannabis. Okay? All the cannabis that you can use to make clothing out of, to make floors, to make rope, to make ship decks, to make gelatin capsules, to eat the non-psychoactive kind. I'm talking about hemp, okay? All that is illegal. So the only kind of marijuana that is legal is the type of marijuana that gets instantly burned up. It would also be like saying that cotton were legal, but the only kind of cotton that allowed would be to use in diapers. And the more important uses of cotton, like for clothing and for other things, this remained illegal. So I'm not trying to be funny, but when people ask me, oh, marijuana is legal in California, I'm like, oh, really? I didn't know that. I have hemp pajamas. I bought them in California, okay, but they're coming from Canada. So this is the problem. It's okay to buy hemp products, but they're very expensive because it's illegal to produce hemp. And many places in the United States were named after hemp. Hempstead, Connecticut, which if you translate it a different way would be like a marijuana town. And it's interesting to me, the writings of the founding fathers, people like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, what they were saying in their letters. They grew hemp. They even talked about smoking it. They talked about ordering special seeds from India and taking care about the seasons. So there's actually evidence that they were doing more than just using it for the industrial production. So I'm actually not pro-marijuana. I'm pro-hemp for industrial use. And even though the psychoactive cousin had a very prominent role in American history, is now illegal. And that's because of pressure from the cotton industry, from the plastic industry, and this whole kind of anti-growth deindustrialization mindset. And I have really mixed feelings about these marijuana laws because I actually read the law for legalizing marijuana in California, and they wrote into the law a new prohibition of hemp. It's like they're trying to institutionalize even further the prohibition of hemp. And it's very bad because, especially in this time where we're told that we have 12 years to save the world, we have to switch to renewables, hemp is the answer because you have the possibility to make a biodegradable plastic. You know, there's a island in the Pacific Ocean. It's an island of plastic. It's called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And it's like three times the size of Texas or thereabouts. And it's all plastic. Whereas you can make hemp plastic. And I don't think it's a coincidence that hemp became illegal in the 20th century, a year after a man invented the machine that would turn hemp into plastic. So this is the elephant in the room. And it's often argued, like if you look up hemp on the internet, they'll tell you that hemp is illegal because of its relation to marijuana. No, it's exactly the opposite way. Marijuana was made illegal so that they could get rid of hemp. And in many languages, they translate these two words, marijuana, hemp, the same. And I don't actually have a problem with that because that's how language is used. But it's on the basis of hemp that pot was prohibited. And so until that original sin of pot prohibition is dealt with, you're going to have a market that's disjointed, that pushes the market into pockets. You're going to have problems on the federal level. And it's often said that those who argue in favor of marijuana will use hemp as the argument to try to get the camel's nose in, so to speak. But it's just the other way around, because it was actually those that wanted to prohibit hemp that use marijuana as an excuse for the ban. So these are very important issues, especially when politicians are giving lip service to environmentalism. Now you have major politicians, even those who are running for president, like Bernie Sanders and others, saying that we have to declare war on the sun. And instead of using resources for social programs, for building our society, and for the real problems at hand, like military intervention in the climate, what you have is all this money and all this research and all this energy that's going into waging war on the sun. And they're not just using that as a metaphor. If you listen to people like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others, they're saying we need to mount a World War II type war mobilization to face climate change. And it's very naive, because there's no consideration of how this would affect the economies and what role it would have for developing countries. And it's like kind of a binary choice. So like the poster child for man-made global warming is Greta Thunberg out of Sweden. And she puts these choices in a binary way, but it's interesting what's left out of the equation. That's what the media never talks about. So geoengineering and the effect that geoengineering has had on the climate and military intervention of the climate. So anytime there's an anomaly in the climate, it's blamed on climate change and global warming. And okay, humans may be responsible, but not in the way that people think, because they've got their machines and their fake clouds and their atmospheric heaters, so they can make it rain in the morning, snow in the afternoon, and then the next day it's 80 degrees. And they point to that and say it's climate change, but they don't talk about the role that these geoengineering programs are having. And it's kind of it's a feedback loop. It's a circular type of reasoning, because now on the basis of these new climate projections and all the alarm over global warming, they're saying we need to do geoengineering. But what they're lying about to the whole world is the fact that these programs have been going on for over 100 years, but really in overdrive since the late 90s, these overhead spraying activities and the HARP facility. So there's a lot of framing of debates that go on, but it's framed in binary terms, either or, and most of the people don't even have the relevant information to be able to make a decision. So like in Latin America, I think it's really doing a disservice to introduce the topic of legalization of marijuana into the national assemblies until people are first educated about it, because there's a confusion between cannabis and cocaine. This confusion is widespread. You even read it in the newspapers and show that people don't have any idea of that these two things are different. And you see a confusion of the effects of marijuana with the effects of cocaine. Even in the newspapers, it's reported, I read in the Spanish newspaper here, that the main type of marijuana is grown with a cross-pollination with coca, and they just invent things. So, but I think it would be healthy in Latin America to have a frank discussion about the role of hemp and the role that hemp could play in the society. But it's really it's like in the way in California, the decriminalization happened before legalization, and this pushed the market into all sorts of little pockets. The same thing would happen in Latin America if they somehow legalized it, but without educating people about hemp, because this has the opportunity to really jumpstart any economy, because you can make clothes and rope and fiber and paper and everything so much more efficiently. And think about it, any country could be on the forefront of a hemp revolution, but when they face a barrage of misinformation, that's not allowed to happen. So it would be good for just people to become educated on hemp. And like I said at the beginning, in California, it's a situation where, okay, maybe you can have wood to burn it up, but you can't have wood for your house. And somehow that's to build a house. That's somehow accepted as normal. So you can grow cannabis as long as you're just going to burn it up. But if you want to use it to make clothing or rope or whatever, then no, can't do that. And American farmers are losing out. Hemp is $1 billion industry, and it means that Canadian farmers actually have an edge over American farmers. Well, that's it for today. We'll talk later.